of leaving no one behind. Fifth, the need for our cities to adopt technologies that are climate smart. Sixth, the need to strengthen data management and promote SDG voluntary local review mechanism to document progress in implementation and to ensure that locals get involved in decision making. Seventh and finally, the need to develop an African blueprint to guide infrastructural development in cities and urban areas as we are becoming more and more together. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Council of Governors, I wish you all fruitful deliberations and hope you will enjoy the hospitality of Kisumu County and the beauty of this great land. Some of us from the region fondly refer to Kisumu as the new UK. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and be blessed.
Thank you. Thank you so much, the Governor of Kisii, Honorable James Ongwae. On behalf of the Kenyan delegation, the governors present, the deputy governors present, the honorable members of parliament present, the senators present, members of the county assemblies present. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Allow me now to invite the President of the United Cities and Local Authority, UCLG Africa, Christine Bandutume, to make her remarks. Welcome. Let's appreciate her as she takes the podium.
Excellence, Monsieur le Président de la République, Excellence, Monsieur le Président de l'Union africaine, Excellence, Messieurs les anciens chefs d'État d'Afrique, Excellence, Monsieur le Premier ministre, Excellence, Monsieur le Président de la Commission de l'Union africaine, Excellence, Madame le secrétaire général adjointe de l'Organisation des États-Unis, Excellence, Monsieur John Kerry, envoyé spécial des États-Unis sur le climat, Excellence, Madame la directrice exécutive du Programme des Nations Unies pour l'environnement, Excellence, Madame la directrice exécutive du Programme des Nations Unies pour les établissements humains. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, les représentants du corps diplomatique et des organisations bilatérales et multilatérales de la coopération. Monsieur le ministre secrétaire de cabinet pour la décentralisation, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, Mesdames et Messieurs les présidents des communautés économiques régionales, chers collègues maires, leaders et élus des collectivités territoriales, honorables représentants des autorités traditionnelles d'Afrique, Mesdames et Messieurs, les représentants de la société civile et du monde académique, Mesdames et Messieurs, les représentants des milieux économiques et des organisations philanthropiques, Mesdames et Messieurs, les représentants des médias, honorables invités, chers amis, professeur Peter Anyang Nyong'o, gouverneur du comté de Kisumu, Madame Lupita Nyong'o, ambassadeur de bonne volonté pour le sommet Africités. Vaillant peuple de Kisumu et du Kenya, je vous apporte les salutations des 16 000 collectivités territoriales et de leurs 51 associations nationales regroupées au sein de l'Organisation de cités et gouvernements locaux unis d'Afrique. Je vous remercie, Excellence, Monsieur le Président de la République, d'avoir bien voulu accorder votre haut patronage à cette 9e édition du sommet Africité organisée par CGLU Afrique en collaboration avec le gouvernement du comté de Kisumu, le Conseil des gouverneurs du Kenya et le gouvernement de l'État du Kenya. Je vous remercie tous, très sincèrement, d'avoir répondu présent à cette cérémonie officielle et vous exprime par ma voix la joie de la communauté africaine des collectivités territoriales de nous retrouver si nombreux et en personne à ce rendez-vous unique de dialogue avec l'Afrique des peuples, le cœur battant. Le choix de Kisumu pour accueillir cet incontournable rendez-vous de tous ceux qui sont concernés par la gouvernance locale en Afrique est un acte de foi qui manifeste la conviction de CGLU Afrique qu'en partant de ces villes et territoriales, plus spécifiquement de celles intermédiaires, l'Afrique peut sûrement renouveler sa réflexion sur sa transformation structurelle et son développement durable. Les villes intermédiaires sont le reflet le plus fidèle de l'état du développement de nos pays. Elles sont en effet en prise directe avec leur interland rural, dont elles sont le centre des services pour les populations des zones rurales et les places de marché sur lesquelles s'appuie le développement des économies locales. Elles sont donc les lieux stratégiques les mieux appropriés pour relever le défi soulevé par la triple crise sanitaire, écologique et de la gouvernance des affaires publiques. C'est pour cette raison que le comité politique Africité essaie de réfléchir sur le rôle des villes intermédiaires dans la mise en œuvre de l'agenda 2030 des Nations Unies et de l'agenda 2060 de l'Union africaine. Je suis convaincu que le sommet Africité fera date dans la longue marche qui mène vers la renaissance de l'Afrique. Je souhaite à tous de fructueux échanges et plein succès à nos travaux. Je vous remercie de votre aimable attention.
Africa, Your Excellency, allow me now to invite the Under-Secretary, the Executive Director of United Nations Human Settlement Program, Nairobi, Ms. Maimuna Hood Sharif, to make a brief remark. Welcome, Madam.
Your Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency Musa Faki, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, Cabinet Secretary for Devolution, Your Excellency Peter Anyang Nyongyo, Governor of Kisumu, Your Excellency Martin Wambora, Chairperson of the Council of Governors of Kenya, Madam Christine Nutume, President of the United Cities of Local Government of Africa, UCLGA, John Pera Elong Embassy, the General Secretary of UCLGA, honorable members of the UCLG Africa, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Habaria usubuhi. Mr. President and Your Excellency, let me take this opportunity to thank the organizers who have worked very hard with the support of many young people in the city of Kisumu to make this summit possible. I always look forward to meeting young people, especially women and girls, whose future is intimately tied to the United Nations Human Settlement Agenda. When a young child born this year celebrates her 18th birthday, she will join other Africans in building an urban future. More likely than not, it will be in an intermediate city. By 2050, 50% of all Africans will live in areas. She will be among the additional 1.4 billion people that will be born or will migrate to urban settlement. I would like also to try to imagine that what future will be like for our young women and young boys born in 2022 today. Today, more than 64% of the urban population in Africa live in informal settlements. There is a deficit of housing and housing finance, with only 15% of urban dwellers in Africa able to afford to purchase their own homes. Depending on where our young lady is born, it will be a major battle to get a job, own a home, and start a family. This is the urban future she will have if we do nothing to change the urban agenda in Africa. What is the role of the intermediate cities? Your Excellency, Mr. President, I would like to recognize your contribution to Africa and the people of Kenya. Your foresight and investment made by the government of Kenya in housing, infrastructure, industry, and job creation will be felt many decades to come. You have successfully created an abode of peace and development in East Africa, a model for a continent and the rest of us in the developing world. Congratulations to you, Mr. President. Thank you for taking the initiative to host this important summit during the unprecedented times when the world is experiencing the effect of what I call the confluence of the three C's: climate, conflict, and COVID-19. This perfect storm is increasing the quality of cities, often overlook our intermediate cities. Too small to be made a national priority, but not big enough to be independently resilient. Kenya, under your leadership, is showing the way to foster closer cooperation and resource allocation between national and local government. This is helping to deliver resources to communities most in need. In the last 50 years, the United Nations in Africa have contributed to ensuring that urban communities have had greater access to basic services, transport infrastructure, and now digital connectivity. Our engagement with more than 30 countries in Africa has given us opportunities to foster collaboration with both national and local governments towards prosperous, safe, and resilient cities in Africa, with the support of the development of national urban policies in 20 countries in Africa. I would like to appreciate the collaboration with the government of Kenya at both national and country level in the sector of housing, physical planning, promoting resilience for the urban poor, waste management, and on the Blue Economy initiative for coastal cities planning being jointly carried out by UN Habitat and UNEP to boost the circular economy with the financial support of the European Union. I cannot overemphasize our great collaboration with Kisumu County, on the lakefront development, on municipal revenue enhancement, and on local economic development for long-term recovery from COVID-19. And I believe the new United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework under leadership of the UN Resident Coordinator will foster further collaboration with the government of Kenya and will offer an opportunity to the whole UN family to accelerate the Sustainable Development Goals in Kenya. Let me also highlight the UN strategic plan and our focus on housing, Mr. President, climate adaptation and localization of the Sustainable Development Goals. I understand that we must not leave our rural communities. The first goal of the UN Habitat Strategy Plan is all about urban and rural linkages. This is why we are supporting this summit wholeheartedly. Mr. President, 65 of my staff are here in this Kisumu Africities. That shows the commitment of UN Habitat to you. We believe that the transformation will come from the intermediate cities. It is not about reversing urbanization, but what we need to do is to make it equitable. Let me also appreciate the collaboration with your UCLG Africa on capacity development for local government and our recent collaboration jointly with UNECA on voluntary local reviews. These include local governments to actively participate in SDG reporting. The participation of local government has deepened our understanding about socio-economic impact of COVID-19, allowing government to be more targeted in their resource allocation to deliver help to those the most in need. I hope that the ongoing joint work in Kisumu on local economic development can be scaled up in the country and at the regional level. We should remind ourselves that ultimately the goal for all of us is to see an African continent which shows inclusive growth and sustainable development, social transformation, and improvement in the standard of living and quality of life in both rural and urban areas. To accelerate the implementation of the SDG 2030 and the African Union Agenda 2063, we all need to work together. The United Nations, other stakeholders, including national and local governments, non-state actors, and including the private sectors. I look forward to seeing the conclusion of the summit translated into action in the 11th session of the World Urban Forum in Katowice, Poland on the 26th to 30th of June this year, and we can conclude the commitments of this summit on intermediate cities in Katowice declared action. As I conclude, let us recall the young woman born in 2022 in my earlier part of my speech. I am confident that if she is fortunate to be born in Kenya, and she will have a strong foundation to get a good education, a steady job, and opportunity one day, Mr. President, to be the first woman president of the country. So, Mr. President, thank you for your support you have shown to UN Habitat and our mandate, more importantly, for your leadership as a champion for sustainable urbanization in Africa. It is our hope that urbanization as a vehicle for economic growth in Africa and will be featured in an African Union summit to come. Wishing you all a successful 9th edition of the Africities Summit here in Kisumu. Thank you. Asante sana.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Maimuna Mood Sharif, the Undersecretary, Executive Director of the United Nations Human Settlement Program, Nairobi. Your Excellency, the Permanent Presidential Music Commission has organized for us a production of the theme song. Welcome the production team.
Kisumu dala. Oh, 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 oh. Wafika viongozi wetu wanataka kuinua Afrika mama wetu, wanasema kwa sauti moja, wanataka kuinua viongozi wetu. Tusiogope, tusirudi nyuma, wewe tunao viongozi watusema, tuneni mbele, tunao viongozi pamoja. Africa, Africities, endeni tujiunge, Kisumu pacho, Kisumu dala. From north to south, from east to west, we have the power to rise. Oh, Kisumu dala. From north to south, from east to west, we have cities. Endeni tujiunge, Kisumu pacho, Kisumu dala. Oh, Kisumu pacho, Kisumu pacho. Oh, Kisumu pacho, Kisumu pacho.
Thank you so much to our production team, the Permanent Presidential Music Commission, and the Kisumu County for that well-elaborate theme song. Let's applaud them with a more loud applause. Thank you. Your Excellency, allow me now to request we focus on the screens for video messages. I would request that we play them back to back. We'll start with the Africities Ambassador Lupita Nyong'o, to be followed by United Nations Deputy Secretary General, Excellency Mrs. Amina Mohammed, and the U.S. Special President Envoy on Climate, John Kerry. The video messages.
Firsthand. It has so much to offer, and I can potential. Hello all, and welcome to the 9th Africities Summit in Kisumu. My name is Lupita Nyong'o, and I have the great honor of being the Africities Goodwill Ambassador this year. Now, Kisumu County is my ancestral home, and I have witnessed its potential firsthand. It has so much to offer, and I can finally see its vibrant energy being tapped with the radical leadership of its current governor, my father, Professor Peter Anyang Nyong'o. Well, I'm biased. You will see for yourself. I'm honored to stand by his side now as he hosts this important summit, as he has so often stood by mine. I could not think of a better place to come together to discuss tangible solutions for the challenges facing Africa and its intermediary cities than the Africities Summit. Over the next 5 days, you will participate in interactive sessions. You will hear from inspirational speakers, take workshops, implement projects, and dream up the Africa we want to see. One where everyone has access to food, healthcare, education, housing, public safety, and peace. I wish I could be there in person with you all, but I will be on this journey with you from afar as we lay the groundwork for Africa's renaissance. Now, let's begin.
Your Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency Macky Sall, President of the Republic of Senegal, Your Excellency Moussa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency President Olusegun Obasanjo, Excellencies, friends and colleagues, it is my great honor to address the opening session of the Africities Summit. Thank you to the Government of Kenya, to the County of Kisumu, and the United Cities and Local Governments, Africa, for hosting this important summit in the wonderful city of Kisumu. We are meeting in challenging times, marked by multiple interlinked crises and a proliferation of conflicts. At the same time, the world is in the midst of key transitions, from energy to the digital world. Among the emerging trendy lines, urbanization is a defining megatrend of the 21st century. We need to take advantage of it. The recent review of the New Urban Agenda provides insights into what a bottom-up approach to sustainable development in Africa could look like. Recognizing the centrality of the New Urban Agenda to other global agendas, notably our efforts to combat climate change. Acknowledging that COVID-19 has deepened inequalities and elevated the importance of cities. And addressing the gaps in capacities and financing countries face to achieve the sustainable urbanization. Africa is projected to have the world's fastest growing urban population over the next 30 years. Cities are producing more than 60% of GDP in Africa, and the rapid trend of urbanization across the continent offers new opportunities to accelerate economic and social transformations. Equitable, inclusive, and prosperous cities need to harness the full potential and participation of all citizens, especially women and our youth. The power of community action, especially youth action, which is our most important and dynamic human resource, can make a difference. While large and megacities will continue to attract people, effectively harnessing urbanization processes hinges on intermediary cities like Kisumu. Indeed, these cities must be at the heart of national urban strategies. Health emergencies, the climate crises, and conflicts are increasingly urban phenomena. Local governments in Africa must be provided with the means and the resources to confront these challenges and deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals. Successful implementation of the SDGs requires unprecedented ownership by local actors. Together with UCLG and other partners, the United Nations has launched a Local 2030 Coalition, a platform designed to support and accelerate SDG delivery at the local level. We invite all of you to join this effort. Acting together, we can leverage well-planned and well-managed cities as engines for sustainable development and innovation here and across Africa. I thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to share a few thoughts as you gather for this year's United Cities and Local Governments Africa Conference. To the presidents, mayors, and everyone else who has gathered for this meeting, thank you for your leadership and your dedication to this issue. It's fitting that you are all gathering some 6 months before Egypt will host COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, and that you'll focus the world's attention on the tremendous risks and opportunities ahead for Africa's growing cities of all sizes. I'm particularly grateful that you're shining a light on the role subnational actors can and frankly must play in the climate fight. Local leaders and community groups have always helped lead us forward on this issue, ever since I can remember being part of helping to organize the first Earth Day in 1970. And that is why, in the Paris Agreement, at COP26 in Glasgow and elsewhere, the world has recognized the critical role that you must continue to play in this fight. Here in Africa, you see the urgency of this moment. You're living it. You know the world is simply not moving fast enough to avoid the worst consequences of the climate crisis and to hold the global temperature rise within the 1.5 degree limit. we're simply not getting this job done globally in the way that we ought to be. And you also know that you and your citizens are all on the front lines of the crisis. 17 of the world's 20 most climate vulnerable countries can be found in Africa. And that's the case even though 48 nations in sub-Saharan Africa are responsible for only 0.55% of total emissions. The most recent IPCC report told us the climate crisis is already here. You already knew that because you lived through it. Extreme heat waves, devastating droughts, changing planting seasons, and more punishing storms. But here's the good news. The IPCC also told us that we still have time to secure a cleaner, healthier, safer planet for all of us. That work starts here in Africa with the world's fastest growing populations and economies. Our climate crisis is also an opportunity to seize smarter growth and better jobs. Take adaptation as an example. Preparing people for this warmer world can save lives and livelihoods, but it's also just plain old common sense. Roads, bridges, and ports can only spur economic growth and reduce poverty next year if they are built to survive the storms of tomorrow. Critical efforts are already underway in Africa, from Rwandan farmers using more accurate forecasting to Tunisian ports preparing for rising seas and flood risks. To support the adaptation work we have to engage in, at COP26, President Biden announced his President's Emergency Plan for Adaptation and Resilience. It's known as PREPARE. PREPARE brings together our diplomatic, development, and technical expertise to help more than 500 million people, including many millions in Africa, manage the impacts of the climate crisis by 2030. When it comes to finance, President Biden pledged last year to quadruple U.S. international public climate finance to over $11 billion per year by 2024. And the private sector is finally showing up with the money that we need to invest in order to accelerate this transition, including in Africa, where multi-trillion-dollar industries are being created. In all of this work, we will continue to follow your lead. Over 1,000 cities and local governments, including many of Africa's major urban centers, have now committed to the Race to Zero and Race to Resilience campaigns. From strengthening green buildings and building water resilience in Addis and Kigali, you are showing us what is both necessary and possible. My friends, we know that human choices have caused this crisis, and therefore we know that human choices can put us back on the right path. That is exactly what you are helping to do today. So on behalf of President Biden and the entire United States government, thank you for your partnership, your friendship, and most of all, your leadership and your dedication to this effort. We are going to win this fight. And when we do, it will be because of leaders like you in Africa and across the planet. Thank you.
Welcome to the second most important democratic organization on the African continent after the African Union. Welcome to United Cities and Local Governments of Africa, the voice of local Africa. The umbrella organization for African local governments was founded in 2005. 5 regional offices have been established in Pretoria, Libreville, Nairobi, Accra, Cairo. Its headquarters are in the city of Rabat, the Kingdom of Morocco, where it enjoys diplomatic status as a Pan-African international organization. Established as the African section of the World Organization, UCLG, United Cities and Local Governments. UCLG Africa now boasts a membership of 51 national associations of local governments from all regions of Africa, as well as 2,000 direct members that have more than 100,000 inhabitants. As such, the organization represents nearly 350 million African citizens. The vision of UCLG Africa is building African unity and driving African development through the grassroots. GADD-EPA lays out the objectives of the organization: promote decentralization, structuring local government associations, building an Africa of peoples and territories, organize exchange platforms such as the Africities Summit, the governance, advocacy, and decentralized development program for Africa. GADD-EPA is the strategic vision for UCLG Africa, which aims to build Africa from the roots. UCLG Africa has developed a series of programs and interventions, including the mobilization of strategies, methods, and tools to support our members under our 7 areas of intervention: local economy and finance, climate, biodiversity and food security, gender and youth, basic service and sustainable development goal, migration, culture, peace and security. 10 reasons to join UCLG Africa. Support projects, financing, coaching, territorial assistance, advocacy, dialogue between elected representatives, networks. Welcome to United Cities and Local Governments of Africa, the voice of local Africa.
Let us appreciate that well presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much. Your Excellency, with your permission, allow me, with all humility and my singular duty, to invite the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Musa Faki, to make his remarks. Welcome, Your Excellency. Let's appreciate His Excellency as he takes the podium.
Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, Excellency President Ford, former President of the Seychelles, Prime Minister Raila Odinga, Special African Union Envoy for Infrastructure, Madame Christine Mban-Doutoumé, Présidente des cités et gouvernements locaux unis d'Afrique, Ms. Maimouna Mohamed Sherif, Under Secretary General and Executive Director of UN Habitat, Professor Anyana Ngo, Governor of Kisumu County, distinguished ministers, regional governors and mayors, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, President Uhuru Kenyatta, dear brother, for inviting me to this auspicious official opening of the 9th Summit of Africa Cities held in this magnificent intermediary city of Kisumu. President, you show once more your leadership and dedication for Kenya and for the implementation of African Union Agenda 2063. And thank you for encouraging me to speak English. I would like to congratulate the United Cities and Local Government of Africa, the Government of the Republic of Kenya, governors of Kenya and the Kisumu County Government for the unprecedented organization of the summit and the warm hospitality extended to us. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the African Union embraces the theme of this summit of Africities, of the role of intermediary cities in the implementation of Agenda 2030 of the United Nations and Agenda 2063 of the African Union. Intermediary cities have a crucial role on urbanization policy and have become a renewed subject of interest for governments, international organizations, and academics. Intermediary cities are growing fast and have the greatest potential to shape the urban future, and yet they are often overlooked. Much attention has been paid to capital cities, which are the political, social, and economic centers of a country. As a result, our economies fail to realize the benefits that a more balanced spatial development and intercity collaboration can generate. The growth of intermediary cities implies an increase in wealth, inequalities, need for housing, infrastructure and urban services, pollution, need for decent jobs, increased waste production, and therefore, their role needs to be recognized and clarified. If left alone to manage themselves without a clear role, cities will manifest into chaotic development. Cities have their unique challenges and potentials. Therefore, clarification of their role should take into consideration their peculiarities. Ladies and gentlemen, I am particularly pleased to see that the summit has chosen the theme linking the global UN agenda to Africa's agenda as a template of how to think global while acting locally to African aspiration and distinct cultural realities. Africa, like the rest of the world, has committed itself to the implementation of the United Nations agenda and the new urban agenda. Furthermore, the continent's agenda 2063 outlines not only our aspiration for the future, but also identifies key flagship programs which can boost Africa's economic growth and development and lead to the rapid transformation of the continent. The three agendas have powerfully captured the role of cities and their envisioned cities that fulfill their social, economic, ecological, and political function in an inclusive manner. At the continent level, the African Union has developed a regional framework for the implementation of the new urban agenda. The AU has developed also the African Charter on Values and Principles of Decentralization, Local Governance, and Local Development to facilitate implementation of decentralization, which remains a challenge in many countries. This instrument serves as a sound foundation for guiding the development of our cities, as well as clarifying your role as local authorities in intermediary cities. With your experience and key role as mayors and governors, it is now up to you to make sure that these valuable tools become an integral part of your urban management to ensure the decentralization and urbanization we want. As you deliberate here on the shores of Lake Victoria, which is both a trade route, transnational water highway for cities beyond Kisumu, it is also a reminder of the impacts of climate change on our lives and livelihoods. I also want to remind you that regional integration is a fundamental objective of Agenda 2063. The African Free Trade Area Agreement, AFCFTA, can be seen in action here in Kisumu, a vibrant city that trades with neighboring counties and countries, facilitating the free movement of goods and people for the shared prosperity far beyond the shores of Lake Victoria. Ladies and gentlemen, may solidarity remains the engine that drives the African city experience, that of community and cooperation. As I conclude, it is my hope that as you share experiences and take stock of how local governments, policymakers, and citizens are working together to meet this aspiration, that they remain underpinned by the principle of African solidarity that we brought with us from our villages. It is my appeal, therefore, to you, honorable ministers, mayors, and senior government officials, to prioritize the signing and ratification of the Charter on the principle of decentralization and local governance, and that of public service and administration. I wish you fruitful deliberations and thank you for your kind attention. Merci, asante, erokamana.
Thank you. Thank you so much, His Excellency Musa Faki, the Chairperson of the African Union Commission. Thank you for your candid words, sir. Your Excellency, it's now my humble duty to invite the Cabinet Secretary for Defense and the Acting Cabinet Secretary for Devolution, Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, to invite Your Excellency to deliver your opening official address. Welcome, Cabinet Secretary.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency Musa Faki, the Chairperson of the AU, who has really captured all the protocols here that I wish to adopt. Ladies and gentlemen, may I take this opportunity to welcome you all to Kisumu County and Kisumu City, to join my brother, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, the governor of this great county, who has welcomed you here and with whom I'm host. And I want to say that I have a very long speech here, but my role really was just to welcome you all and to welcome His Excellency the President to speak to you. But I noticed when Maimuna was speaking, there was a lot of excitement when she talked about the possibility of having a woman president someday. And my guest sitting next to me were asking me, why are people so excited in Kenya? So I was saying, if you are Kenyan, I would have asked you, are you strangers in Jerusalem? Because yesterday something historical happened in our country. And Your Excellency Musa Faki, you are Special Envoy for Infrastructure, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, nominated a woman known as Martha Karua to be the next Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. That informs you why there's so much excitement in Kenya today. Then, apart from Maimuna, as she was speaking, I noticed a lot of excitement again when Amina Mohammed, Her Excellency, the Deputy Secretary General, spoke about intermediary cities and urban centers being the engines of economic transformation of Africa, of growing Africa from the bottom up. So someone asked me, why are people excited about that? Because we have an election coming around the corner. When you speak about bottom up, it might mean something very different. But I don't think that is what Amina Mohammed meant. The true meaning of bottom up is devolution. It's bringing more resources down to our counties, to our governments, and turn them into engines of socioeconomic transformation of our country and our counties. And under the leadership of President Uhuru Kenyatta, that is what we have been doing in Kenya for the last 10 years. And we want to welcome you so that we share with you our experience in devolution and in decentralization. And that is what we'll be doing in the course of today. But I just wanted to also welcome you to Kisumu as a city that has great history. Many of you, maybe for the first time, you are coming to this beautiful lakeside city and you're wondering where it has been all this time. Because in Africa, we've been looking at our capital cities. Kenya was honored in 2006 to host Africities, but that was in Nairobi. And we've been to the other capitals of Africa where we've held Africities, and we're very grateful to UCLGA for giving us the opportunity as Kenya, as Kisumu with Professor Nyang'nyong, to be the first intermediary city in Africa to host Africities. The scripture said, who much is given, much is expected. Indeed, you put your faith in us, but you also gave us a lot of responsibility. And we know much is expected of us. And I must thank all those we've worked together to ensure that this day is a success. And I must thank, starting with Professor Nyong'o and his team. You have done well, Prof. If I was a voter in Kisumu, I would have said, teach tire tano tena. You have done extremely well. But my colleagues in national government, in cabinet, I must thank you, because we have walked a long way under the leadership of our president to make this a success. And I want to single out my colleague C.S. Macharia, with whom we have worked, with his PSs in charge of housing, PS Hinga, with the PSs in charge of roads, PSs in charge of transport to expand our airport here, to do our roads, and to make this day a success. I must also thank my PS, Korir. I think he's here with us. We've done a wonderful, wonderful job with our devolution team to make this day a success. And before I invite His Excellency the President, just to give a little history about Kisumu. This city has a great history, like other cities in Africa, in Europe, and across the world. It has a long history that stretches back to the Victorian era. We had two Englishmen who came here in 1858, Speke and Barton. And they said they had discovered Lake Victoria. They named it after their queen. Before they came, the community living here, the Luo community, called Lake Victoria Namlolwe. The Luyas lived here, they called it Enyanja ya Walude. When you go to the Rwandese, they call the lake Nyanza. But Speke and Barton came and said they were the first people to discover Lake Victoria, and they named it after their queen. That is how Lake Victoria came to be. The second thing that happened was the British now came in to open up the hinterland of Africa to connect the port of Mombasa and the port of Kisumu. And this is one lesson we want to take away as Africa, the importance of infrastructure in developing intermediary cities, in growing intermediary cities. Indeed, Kisumu grew as an accident, and it came out of a huge debate in the British Parliament when Henry Loballoch called this a gigantic folly. Building a train from Mombasa to Kisumu looked like an impossibility then. In 1896 they started, and it was opposed by the British Parliament, but it went on through a lot of challenges. Winston Churchill came and said this was not a folly. In fact, it was a brilliant conception, and it was an art of the British tradition of muddling through things. So they muddled through a lot of politics back home to get on the ground. There were lions who were man-eaters in Savo. They muddled through the Savo. They had tsetse attacks, a lot of disease. They muddled through it. They went through ravines, valleys, faced the Maasai warriors, very fierce Nandi warriors. But they muddled through it, and by 1901, they arrived here in Kisumu. It was then called Port Florence. As we speak today, this is one of the most transformative infrastructure developments in Africa. We are happy that after our president took over, we have continued to invest as national government in this infrastructure. We have a standard gauge railway that has been built during this administration, all the way from Mombasa, it's now in Naivasha. It will come to Kisumu. We know that it was not easy to do that, but again, we are transforming this city because of that infrastructure. Investing in ports, as Musa Faki has said, it's about ports, it's about roads, it's about the rail, it's about water infrastructure. And this is one lesson we want to take away as we look at the future of intermediary cities in our continent to transform it. So I want to thank you. There will be many sessions where we want to share experiences about our journey in devolution, about the success of decentralization in this country. There are many breakaway sessions, there are many delegations that we have engaged. Please take your time, let us engage, share experiences and learn from each other. Let us also look at how we can look at the challenges facing us, how we can overcome these challenges, and how we can address the vulnerabilities that are going to face our populations as they move into their cities. Experts are saying by 2050, we'll have over 60% of our populations in these intermediary cities. So we must prepare for that. And the role of intermediary cities in realization of the AU Agenda 2063 and the EU Agenda 2030 is at the center of our discussions today. Please let us share, but also take time to enjoy the beautiful lake out there, Lake Victoria. It's the biggest tropical lake in Africa and the second largest freshwater lake in the world after Lake Superior. Take your time and enjoy our hospitality. And it's now my pleasure and honor to invite His Excellency the President to address us. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. Your Excellency, the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mahamat, my dear friend and brother, Danny Fore, the President of the United Cities and Local Government of Africa, Christine Ba Dutume, the Governor of Kisumu, Professor Anyang-Nyong, all Excellencies, delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by saying it is a great honor to welcome you all to Kenya and to our lake city of Kisumu for this 9th edition of the Africities Summit. Indeed, I join everybody else in thanking the county government of Kisumu, led by Professor Anyang-Nyong, and indeed the people of Kisumu for hosting this conference, and indeed for the warm reception and hospitality which I am sure they will extend to all our visitors from across the globe. We are convening here at a very unique time in the history of our region and the world, and our efforts to build our economies back from the devastating effects of COVID-19 pandemic have been slowed by a myriad of events on the international scene, events which in many circumstances have put multilateralism as we know it under immense stress. However, I do believe that this summit reaffirms our resilience and our shared common goal as brothers and sisters within the African continent of making our towns, our cities, and indeed our metropolitan areas better. We have amongst us delegates from approximately 110 countries from all over the world. And I believe that this is a summit not just of thinkers, but also of doers. And we are therefore called upon to bring tangible, practical, and sustainable solutions to the challenges facing Africa's urban areas. Recognizing that this noble goal is not a task solely for governments, we also have amongst us members from civil society organizations, representatives of our African diaspora, economic actors, policy experts, researchers, academicians, financial institutions, as well as development partners. These diverse actors all share in our objective of strengthening the role of local and regional governments in the development of our continent, as well as accelerating the integration and unity of Africa by creating linkages between nations and cities on our continent. So on behalf of the people of Kenya, I am particularly grateful to the leadership of the United Cities and local governments of Africa for choosing Kisumu as a host city for this year's AfriCity Summit, the first such intermediary city to host such a conference. For centuries, this particular intermediary city of Kisumu has been a melting pot of different cultures, a hub for trade, and a gateway into Eastern and Central Africa. And so in this context, I do invite you all to join in this continental moment of taking stock and reflecting, learning, as well as planning under this year's theme of the role of intermediary cities of Africa in the implementation of our Agenda 2030 of the United Nations and our very own African Union Agenda 2063. This year's summit is most apt as the summit comes at a time that is critical when our continent of Africa is facing rapid urbanization and the challenges of future cities are increasingly coming into sharp focus, more so after the shocks of the COVID-19 pandemic. Cities and local authorities around the world have played a key role in the response to COVID-19. They were our first line of defense. They were at the forefront of our prevention and containment measures, the vanguard of our humanitarian response, as well as taking the first steps towards building back livelihoods post-COVID. Local authorities therefore proved to be an indispensable ring in the governance chain and an instrumental part of pandemic prevention and response actions. Consequently, time is ripe for scaling up the role of intermediary cities as the next frontiers of African urbanization and development. I say this because in Africa, an unprecedented rate of urbanization has propelled intermediary cities to stand at approximately 1,086. These intermediary cities like Kisumu, where we are today, are home to approximately 174 million people, representing about 36% of our continent's total urban population and contributing about 40% of our continent's GDP. So as we convene to deliberate on how we can establish a shift towards a new urban paradigm and unleash the potential of intermediary cities in fostering inclusive development and the realization of our SDGs and all other social economic development initiatives, we must keep in mind that Africa is becoming increasingly urbanized. The traditional rural focus within development plans risk marginalizing a growing section of our population, one which will soon be the majority. This is not to say that our rural areas should take a back seat. Rather, it is to recognize that our development plans must be in tune with the realities of rural-urban migration and the concentration of large populations in small and often unplanned settlements in metropolitan areas. This calls for proper planning to create smart cities that meet future urbanization challenges, plans that address the emerging needs related to food security, health, shelter, environmental conservation, as well as infrastructure. The need for proper urban planning was clearly demonstrated during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, when it became necessary to support those living in informal settlements in our cities and urban areas with food rations, as well as the provision of sanitary facilities. So, ladies and gentlemen, the challenge of our time is therefore to make our intermediary cities and municipalities sustainable and fit for all our citizens. Accordingly, this summit has the task of providing the continent with a comprehensive and achievable roadmap on how our intermediary cities can contribute towards the implementation of the Agenda 2030 of the United Nations, as well as our own African Union Agenda 2063. Here in Kenya, for example, the national government has over the last 5 years been implementing projects and programs geared towards improvement of lives of our people through the achievement of the SDGs. This has been under the auspices of our National Economic Blueprint, our Kenya Vision 2030 and its medium-term plan, the Big Four, and the agenda espouses provision of a decent roof over many more heads at affordable costs, at affordable health care for all, value addition by increasing manufacturing and jobs, as well as ensuring food security for all our people. We have also embarked on a slum upgrade program that is spread across our country, notably in our capital city of Nairobi and the intermediary cities of Mombasa and Kisumu, as well as our youngest city, that being the city of Uhuru. These concerted actions have been through the Kenya Devolution Support Program, the Urban Support Program, the Kenya Slum Upgrade Program, and the Kenya Informal Settlement Improvements Program. So to achieve the goals of this convention, we must make this, the 9th edition of the Africities Summit, a questioning summit. And in that regard, I would like to propose a 12-point questioning framework for all participants. And this framework should guide us in understanding the problem and charting the way forward. Firstly, how do we reinvigorate the management of urbanization, the electricity feed, provide affordable and inclusive transport, quality and accessible education and health care, and improve the standards and sanitation we of extremity human capital, administration, review sustaining the momentum so far gathered towards the achievement of our SDG. Fifth, what is the best way for us to create and sustain governments, the accelerated growth of decentralization and evolution across our continent without compromising our national cohesion. Sixth, how do we reposition technology and connectivity as a drive to the achievement of SDGs in providing opportunities in our urban areas? Seventh, how can we enhance the voice of key stakeholders, including civil society, the private sector, academia, grassroots organizations, in providing capacity and impetus in the implementation of our SDGs? 8, how do we increase awareness of the negative effects of climate change and guarantee environmental equity for future generations? 9, what legal and policy frameworks should we establish to foster the robust and sustainable development of intermediary cities? And 10, what incentives should we put in place to enhance the competitiveness of our intermediary cities, new frontiers and hubs for innovation, trade, and tourism? 11, what critical steps can we put in place to enhance disaster management in our urban areas, including those that may deal with pandemics similar to COVID-19? And 12, as we scale up and develop urban areas in general and in particular our intermediary cities, what strategies and policies are required to confront the threats of radicalization and terrorism, especially in the urban areas, including our intermediary cities? So, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude my remarks, I would like to underscore that this must be a decade of action. The time is ripe for scaling up our efforts in support of intermediary cities and also in promoting greater synergies between local, national, and international efforts geared towards accelerating the realization of our SDGs. In every community and nation in Africa, there are sayings that recognize that in unity there is strength. And there is no change, no matter how seemingly insurmountable, can prevail over unified and united actions. I therefore urge all of you today to unite in the face of one of the greatest challenges of our time. And I have no doubt that through considered and synergetic actions, Africa's intermediary cities will play their rightful role in driving the implementation of Agenda 2030 and the African Union Agenda 2063. So, ladies and gentlemen, with those few remarks, it is indeed my great pleasure and honor to declare this 9th Africities Summit officially open, and I really look forward to the fruitful deliberations that I'm sure will take place here in this great city of Kisumu. Thank you, and God bless Africa. Thank you very much.
May we give His Excellency a Mohatia clap as he takes his seat. Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency, for your candid words and well-presented remarks to all of us. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Please be seated. With your permission, sir, Your Excellency, we will now move to our next segment of our program, which is the high-level dialogue on infrastructure and urban development. And I kindly wish to introduce the moderator and invite him to the podium. And that is none other than the Kisumu City County Governor, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, who will take us through the next program. Welcome, Prof. The video.
Well, Welcome to Kisumu, Kenya's third largest city and the capital of Kisumu County. The lakeside city is a place of passion, pleasure, and fun, where humanity interacts with development, where rural hinterland interacts with the city.
It is very easy to move in and out of Kisumu.
The road network is top-notch. The city is strategically placed. It is the gateway to Western Kenya and the entire Great Lakes region, thanks to Kisumu International Airport, Kisumu Port, and rail transport.
The whole package for Kisumu is ready. We're ready to say we want to be a significant city in Kenya, in Africa, and in the world at large.
And ready indeed for the upcoming AfriCities conference.
Having a conference like that with about 8,000 to 10,000 people visiting Kisumu is a great economic stimulus.
My administration, Governor, will extend to the county government of Kisumu every support in order for you to be able to showcase Kenya and Kisumu, Africa, and the rest of the world.
There is ample accommodation in Kisumu, from high-end hotels and resorts to guest houses and apartments.
We've got several hotels that have opened up into the region. In Kisumu alone, we have 324 hotels.